The panel is here. Tim Alberta, staff writer for The Atlantic and author of The Kingdom, the Power and the Glory, American Evangelicals in an Age of Extremism. Stephen Hayes, editor of The Dispatch, and Kimberly Atkins Stohr, senior opinion writer at the Boston Globe. Thanks to all of you for being here. Steve, let's start with what we just heard from Governor DeSantis. He was defiant. He says he is in this race, in it at least through Iowa, to win it. And of course, we saw him hold that debate this week with Governor Gavin Newsom of California, trying to basically shake up the race. Is it too late for him to shake up this race?
I mean, I'm not sure it's too late for anybody to shake up this race. We've got 5+ weeks until Iowa. A lot can happen. But the facts are troubling for Ron DeSantis. Donald Trump, as you pointed out, is ahead by, depending on the poll, 30 points in Iowa, some 50 points nationally. And what struck me about your interview with him is how small he felt in response to those questions. You're losing to Donald Trump by double digits, by a huge margin. You've got a short amount of time to make your case. You gave him multiple openings to make his case against Donald Trump, and he just really didn't seem to take it. There were prods on Obamacare, and he claimed that Trump is running for himself and not for the folks. But on the big things, he didn't jump in and prosecute the kind of case against the person he needs to topple in order to win.
Tim, what was your take? And is Iowa do or die for him? He says, hey, I'm going to win. But does he need to at least come in second or else have a hard discussion about potentially dropping out?
Well, it's hard to see how, for Ron DeSantis, anything short of winning Iowa catapults him into real contention in this race. Because let's just deal in reality here. Donald Trump's going to win New Hampshire. He's probably going to win New Hampshire running away, the same way that he did in 2016 against the crowded field. Ron DeSantis is approaching, I think, sort of a fork in the road and maybe he's already at the fork in the road, Kristen. He seemed defensive, jumpy in that interview. He almost gives the vibe of a guy who sort of knows that the end could be near. And let's keep in mind, Ron DeSantis is a young man. He's a talented politician. This is someone who a lot of Republican donors, a lot of Republican voters would like to see be president one day, perhaps not now. So are you served in your political future by losing Iowa, getting demolished in New Hampshire, and then losing in South Carolina, perhaps finishing third in South Carolina? The bloom would come off the rose perhaps permanently at that point. So DeSantis has a very interesting decision to make here, and of course we need to consider that in the context of his campaign apparatus and his super PAC outside apparatus sort of at war with one another and sort of imploding in real time. This is not a great moment for Ron DeSantis to be on a downward trajectory, and that's where he appears to be.
Such a great point about the fact that he is simultaneously keeping his eye on the future, which underscores likely why he decided to do that debate with Governor Gavin Newsom. Talking of the GOP frontrunner, we did hear from him yesterday in Iowa, former President Trump, keeping his sights squarely set on President Biden. Take a look.
Joe Biden is not the defender of American democracy. Joe Biden is the destroyer of American democracy. The fact is, Americans don't like fascists. We don't like communists. We don't like tyrants. We don't like corrupt politicians like Joe Biden.
Kimberly, what do you make of this?
Well, clearly he is looking at the general because, as we pointed out, the chances of anybody else on either side catching up to Biden or him are very small. But I think what we really should be looking in that is his penchant for projection, which is something he's always done. When he was a businessman, he would call the people he didn't like crooks. Now he stands accused of business fraud. I was surprised he didn't say that Joe Biden is facing 91 criminal counts. He is projecting what he is getting. And I think what that means is he knows that the Democrats, the warning signs by Democrats and even some Republicans about the authoritarian nature of Donald Trump and what another term would bring are hitting home. Voters are listening to that. And so his plan is just to try to deflect, paint himself somehow as the defender of democracy, when the truth is he is the exact opposite.
Yeah, and Tim, look, in your book, you explore why evangelicals are so dedicated to former President Trump. And you can think of it in a way. I mean, look what just happened on Capitol Hill. George Santos was just ousted, expelled, because he is facing a number of charges. President Trump's facing a number of charges as well. That has only reinforced his support among his base, including evangelicals in the state of Iowa. Talk about those dynamics in play and how challenging it is for Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley to peel away at that constituency.
Well, Kristen, we know now that there are sort of two standards in the Republican Party. There's a Trump standard, and then there's a standard for everyone else. Trump can obviously get away with things that nobody else can get away with. I think what's important to recognize, specific to his relationship with the evangelical base of the Republican Party, is that Donald Trump is not succeeding with these voters in spite of his behavior, in spite of the 91 counts, in spite of the rhetoric, but he is succeeding because of those things. And what I mean specifically is that when you consider the sort of the psychological transformation of the evangelical base's relationship with Donald Trump and how they have come to view him as their protector in a time when they are in danger, they are under siege, the country is coming for them and their churches and their faith. They view Donald Trump as almost a mercenary to protect them in these dangerous times. And that's something that's very hard for another candidate to compete with.
Yeah, Kimberly, we just have about 10 seconds left. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think people can hold two thoughts at the same time, and one, that there is the threat to democracy. What does those freedoms that they're standing for mean if that's destroyed?
All right, great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.